The QAnon fallout. Well, videos have started to come out from alternative media in relation to the QAnon movement. Most of these videos are "we told you so" type videos, or videos calling out all the QAnon patriots who were and are the engines behind the Trump train and QAnon. What no one seems to be addressing is why the QAnon movement was and is so successful. It has even spread into countries outside the United States. So, was QAnon a psyop? My personal opinion is that QAnon was a psyop. It continues to be a psyop. What are some key reasons the Qanon Deception worked so well, and why does it continue to work? How can a person avoid being deceived in the future by such psychological operations? Well, let's look at the methods and techniques of psychological warfare. It's important to have this information at hand so that one can defend themselves against these techniques and methodologies and realize when their beliefs and emotions may be being used against them. So here it says, psychological warfare is the planned tactical use of propaganda threats and other non-combat techniques. Now, forget about wars and threats of wars and geopolitical unrest. Let's look at this from the perspective of a concerted effort against the local population of the United States and maybe perhaps Western countries as well in general, but certainly within the United States, targeting particular populations, demographics with these non-combat techniques. Now, while all nations employ it, the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency lists the tactical goals of psychological warfare, PSYWAR, or psychological operations, PSYOP, as assisting in overcoming an enemy's will to fight, sustaining the morale and winning the alliance of friendly groups in countries occupied by the enemy, influencing the morale and attitudes of people in friendly and neutral countries towards the United States. So again, if we look at this from the context of what the QAnon operation was doing and who it was targeting, it was certainly targeting friendly groups within the local population of the United States, and it was almost certainly influencing the morale and attitudes of people who were friendly to those groups and demographics in other countries that may also, those countries were friendly or neutral towards the United States as well. So to achieve their objectives, the planners of psychological warfare campaigns first attempt to gain total knowledge of the beliefs, likes, dislikes, strengths, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities of the target population. According to the CIA, knowing what motivates the target is key to a successful PSYOP. So in this paragraph here, given the CIA's access to Facebook, Twitter, other social media platforms, do you not think that it's their ability to get into the beliefs and likes and strengths and weaknesses and vulnerabilities of their target demographics within those social media platforms? They would most certainly have a very, very deep knowledge of how to manipulate the various demographics that they were targeting with the QAnon PSYOP. Because this is a war on the mind. This has a lot to do with beliefs and beliefs in values and other things that can generate emotions in people as well and affect their reasoning. So now, as a non-lethal effort to capture hearts and minds, psychological warfare typically employs propaganda to influence the values, beliefs, emotions, reasoning, or behavior of its targets. Now it says here again, the targets of such propaganda campaigns can include civilian individuals. So it says that PSYOP propaganda can be disseminated in several ways, and particularly nowadays on the social media platforms and bots, and the ability for them to have paid people out there performing the campaign, the reach and influence is tremendous. There are 3 shades of propaganda, according to Daniel Lerner, who wrote a 1949 book in which he detailed the propaganda into 3 categories: white propaganda, gray propaganda, and black propaganda. So QAnon, I would say, falls into the gray propaganda area, so there is some truthful information that is in there. Contains no information that can be disproven. I don't know, there might be some in there. I haven't done analysis of the Q drops, but there's certainly information that can be disproven from the alt media platforms that are pushing the QAnon movement ahead. Now, there's no sources cited in gray propaganda, so that's important to note, because there is no actual source cited for they'll say it's military, they'll say it's a group, but there's no specific one individual or group of individuals. It's it's like a CNN unidentified source, an unnamed source. So PSYOP in battle, this is where we go into when you're in a battle type scenario. So there you have it, folks. And when we apply what's in this article and what's in that fellow's book to the QAnon PSYOP, we can see that there's a lot of perhaps alignment there. I will leave a link to this article in the description of the video. So why did the QAnon PSYOP work so well? There are some fundamental reasons why so many people were caught in the QAnon deception. These reasons are the basis for why propaganda and psychological operations can be effective. Asking why addresses causal factors as to why these kinds of PSYOPs work. So reasons why the QAnon PSYOP worked so well: lack of knowledge or ignorance of natural law, culturally conditioned belief systems that are dogmatic and false, people are not honest with themselves, lack of discernment and judgment, and hopium. These are all reasons why the QAnon PSYOP worked so well. By any stretch of the imagination, there could be arguments made for others, but these are fundamental reasons. Reasons why the QAnon PSYOP continues to work. People do not understand or ignore natural law. There's a theme here, folks. People have cognitive dissonance. For instance, they will say Trump is for freedom and the Second Amendment, and then when Trump institutes a bump stock ban via an executive order, which is an infringement on the Second Amendment, those people will say, well, he's playing along, he has to play the part, it's 5D chess, 4D chess, 92D chess, whatever it is. So that is cognitive dissonance. People cannot admit they were wrong. They can't just say, wow, they said this would happen, it didn't. They said it would happen 5 times in a row and it never happened. Maybe I'm wrong to be listening to this. Or even now, after it's all said and done and you've trusted the plan and nothing has come to fruition and the goalposts keep moving, people still cannot admit they were wrong. People believe in external saviors. There's always an external enemy and there's always an external savior. That is an incorrect way to look at this from an external perspective. So by believing in external saviors, you're going to be much more likely to just sit back and trust the plan and stay on your butt and do nothing, right? Except argue on comment sections in Twitter and Facebook with people who don't know what the plan is, or people that don't think that there is a plan, and that sort of, or with just Democrats, or liberals in general. So there is an external savior complex that people have, and this could be maybe driven from a religious aspect. People are addicted to hopium, and I get it, folks. I understand there has to be hope, but you can't stay on the long, slow drip of hopium, getting addicted to it, and always having hope, and never taking any action yourself. Okay, I will admit, I was taken in a little bit by the hopium at the very beginning of this whole thing. Before I fully integrated an understanding of natural law and true spiritual anarchy, I had some hope that this might be something that could really drive some change to happen with the corruption and evil that's going on in the world. I will admit now, I'm off the hopium drip now. It doesn't mean I don't have hope. I've just accepted truth. And lastly, people do not want to face reality. They have a perception, but the perception is not necessarily reality, which is what's happened. And sometimes when you're really invested in something emotionally, literally, and actually through your actions on social media or with people in the physical world that you interact with, people are very invested in this. They're very attached to this operation, and they just don't want to face reality. So I guess that could be a form of denial. Now, how to defend against psyops, and generally these are government psyops. You can understand natural law. You can understand that government is slavery. You can look at the actions being taken or not taken instead of the words being said, and our fear through an external enemy and hope through an external savior being used against you. In order to have these things in your toolkit mentally to help defend against these psychological operations, you really have to integrate and really deeply understand the truth of natural law and the reality that government is slavery. And through that lens of truth, really examine the actions that are being taken in the world that cause reality to manifest through the actions being taken and the methodologies that are being used. So these are some ways you can help defend yourself against psychological operations in the future. Thanks for listening, and take care.